Hi again. Today we're going to be reading chapter number 7, Pinball Pete's. This is from Murder in the Kollel. So I was now temporarily partnered with Mrs. Daphna Lachler. Well, not partners. I was the boss. She was subservient to me. Those were the rules. The question is, does she know it? I left my car at her house, so we were sitting in her Chrysler SUV outside the Kollel. I was filling her in with the basic facts of what I had learned from Jumping Jack and Rabbi Lipsky. I cannot get over how eager and excited she was. When you see a small dog, you never have a problem confusing it with a young puppy. That's because the puppy behaves in such a unique way, always prancing about and moving with jerky movements. It is constantly exploring and learning, and it does it all with an eager enthusiasm. That was Daphna, but without the prancing and jerky movements. She wanted to look through the case file immediately, but I insisted that I wanted to see it first. She could have a look at it tomorrow. The next step in the investigation could get awkward. I needed to set up a meeting with Rebbitzin Klein and hopefully get a look at the scene of the crime. That meant I had to get into her house. Problem was, it was not acceptable for a man to meet alone with a religious woman in her home. Daphna surprised me by intuitively recognizing the difficulties in meeting with the Rebbitzin and suggested that she make the arrangements to meet with her. That way I would just be tagging along. Good idea. She called the Rebbitzin, but the woman said she'd be out of her home until late afternoon. Daphna set up a meeting at her house at 5:30 p.m. We had 2 hours to kill. What do people in East Lansing do here for fun? I have no first-hand knowledge, but from what I understand, most people in this area either hunt, fish, or drink, said Daphna. I'm not sure in what order. That made me laugh. Yeah, that's probably true for most of rural USA. You want to see something special right around here? She said eagerly. Sure, I'm game. She drove a car to the corner of Mack Avenue and Albert. And I recognized right away that the street was just about a block south of the police station and 1 block north of the MSU campus. We parked in a lot behind a small strip mall, and when we came around the building, I saw an ostentatious neon sign that said, Pinball Pete's. What is this place? I asked. My girls love it, she said with a smile. It's an old-fashioned penny arcade. The place was long and narrow, with game machines crammed along the sides and up 2 rows in the middle. Thin strips of fluorescent lights shone from the ceiling, but most of the room's illumination came from the colored lights on the front panels of the machines. There was a cashier's booth just to the right of the door where you could change bills into quarters, the coin needed to make all the magic happen. The place was not all that big, and there were only about a dozen people scattered around the emporium, playing a variety of games. Most of the games were variations of the classic pinball machines, but there were also skee bowl lanes, air hockey, an old-fashioned mechanical gypsy, tell your fortune, and much, much more. From the look on Daphna's face, I could tell that it was not just the daughters who liked the place. I changed the 20 into quarters, and we went around feeding the machines and making the magic happen. Daphna was enjoying herself. She had a cute smile and even cuter laugh. Hey, slow down, Yeshiva Bacher. You're not supposed to notice these things. Wait a second. I'm on a break from the yeshiva, and investigators are allowed to make such observations. Part of the job. Good detective work. I knew I was kidding myself, but I was also having a good time. I had to admit that after my monastic 8 months, it was fun to be in the company of someone of the female persuasion. I was shooting an electronic rifle at the mechanical bears that were audaciously crossing the painted scenery in front of me when Daphna stated, I saw in your records that you were married once. There she goes again with my personal information. You mean the records you've never ever seen? Yeah, those records, she said, smiling. After a pause, she asked quietly, what happened? Now that is super personal. But the way she asked the question with such real empathy, she made me feel comfortable enough to answer. Oh, we were both too young, too impetuous, too stupid. We never should have married. It was just one unending argument that last year together. We did both of us a favor when we got divorced. Any children? Oh, thank God, no, I said with relief. Was she Jewish? Now that was a question from left field. I don't know why, but her honest concern made me feel that I could tell her things that I had never said aloud to anyone. I shot 2 bears and I heard them roar. Then I rested the rifle in the crook of my arm and said, Bethany was not Jewish. But when you look at all the facts, I suppose I was not Jewish either. Well, my parents were both born and raised in Jewish homes, but they were never really religious. Didn't you have any kind of Yiddishkeit, Jewish culture in your life? She asked sympathetically. I'm not sure I really know what Yiddish quite is, I answered. Some kind of exposure to your Jewish cultural heritage. Did you have a bar mitzvah? Oh yeah, come to think of it, I did, I said, remembering back 24 years. One Friday night, my dad took us all to the temple in Bloomfield Hills. I can still visualize him passing a check to the rabbi. Then the assistant rabbi, which was a woman, had us all stand up in front of the temple. We were about 6 boys and half again that number of girls. She said a whole bunch of stuff out loud and had us repeat after her. It might have been the brachas, blessings, or the Shema, but I can't remember. I do know that I had no idea of what I was saying. The head rabbi, a balding guy, gave a 20-minute boring speech, and that was it. My bar mitzvah. You didn't have a special dinner or a party, inquired Daphna. Well, my family went out for a celebratory dinner of ribs and lobster. Lobster? I know. What exactly are ribs? I simply said, oink, oink, ribs. Oh, those kind of ribs, she said with a new awareness. But we often expressed our Jewishness in what we ate, I stated. We were culinary Jews. We liked chopped liver, gefilte fish, bagels, and of course, Reuben sandwiches. Wow, were they good. Reuben sandwiches are not kosher, she said dryly. What are you talking about? Reuben sandwiches are of course kosher. They're like, I searched for an appropriate comparison. They are the Yom Kippur of the Jewish gastronomical world. Well, let's see. She held out 2 open palms. 2 pieces of rye bread. On one, we have succulent sliced corned beef, and on the other, we have thick slabs of creamy Swiss cheese. Add a little sauerkraut, slap on some Russian dressing. We put our 2 hands together. She clapped her hands together loudly, and we get a Reuben sandwich. What do you think, kosher or not kosher? Of course, milk and meat, a big no-no. Treif, definitely not kosher. I rest my case, she said, flipping her hands upward in victory. So you see that my family was technically Jewish, but definitely not religious. That is, we did not follow any religion. We took the good things from all of them. We celebrated Christmas and Hanukkah, Passover and Easter. Why not? It was only after I was shot that I began to look for something, a little meaning in my life. For the first 2 years, I took lessons at the yeshiva, and then 8 months ago, I put on this funny outfit and started studying in earnest. Have you found what you were looking for? She asked with concern. Another question from left field. She doesn't pull any punches. No, I haven't. Well, not completely, I said in all honesty. But for the first time, I feel that I really have my feet on the ground. And this stability gives me a perspective I never had before. Most of all, it feels good. The suit makes you feel good? No, it has nothing to do with the suit. It's the belief in God, in His Torah, in keeping the mitzvahs, the commandments, and keeping the Sabbath, eating kosher. It all feels good. Like my body and my soul can thrive in such an environment. I can see the world now like I never saw it before. I stopped speaking and picked up the rifle. I fired off my remaining 15 imaginary bullets and sent the bears howling. I'm a menace with an electronic rifle. All the while, Daphna had been silent, but I could feel that she had been staring at me. When I put the rifle back in its stand, she said, Mr. Lincoln, you impressed the heck out of me. I had no idea you were such a philosopher. Well, you asked, I said in my defense. And you surely answered, she said with a nod. And now it's time for air hockey. You may be better than me with the rifle, but I'm going to beat the pants off of you in air hockey. She did not beat the pants off of me, but she was darn good. She was quicker than me, but I had longer reach. We played a half a dozen games and split 50-50. Our appointment with Rebbitzin was in 15 minutes. We just called our air hockey showdown a draw. We exited Pinball Pete's and were coming down the alley to the car. And then coming towards us was a young man in an oversized military-style camouflage jacket, dirty cargo pants, and scuffed gym shoes. He was bareheaded, and his hair was matted like it had not been washed in a long time. When we got closer, the young man turned and pulled up his jacket pocket and aimed it at us. "I've got a gun, give me your money." By instinct, I stepped in front of Dafna and said calmly, "Okay, just take it easy, I'll give you what you want." "Smart thinking," said the young man nervously. The guy could be anywhere from 15 to 30. I guess he was younger, and that the tough street life was aging him fast in more ways than one. I could see the telltale signs of withdrawal, tremor in the hands, erratic movement, and speech. This kid was going to do whatever it took to get enough money to make a score of whatever substance it was that was killing him slowly. I was not sure that he actually had a gun in his pocket, but I was not going to take a chance. I knew from personal experience that anyone could act the hero, but heroes could also get shot. Besides, I did not have my weapon with me. Well, the kid was obviously an amateur. No professional would stand so close or keep his piece in his pocket. I could easily disable him, but there was a real possibility that he did have a gun in his pocket, and I was worried about Dafna. Best just to give him the money. I was trying to pull my wallet out of my pocket when Dafna stepped around me and said, "You're not really going to give this guy your money, are you?" "Well, actually, yes I am," I said honestly. "Shut up, lady," said the kid. Dafna turned to the guy and said threateningly, "You don't know who you're dealing with." "I'm dealing with a rich guy who is going to give me his money." "This punk doesn't even have a gun," turned to Dafna. "That probably is just his finger in his pocket." Why was she going out of her way to take this guy off? The young man then pulled out a Saturday Night Special, which was just a little bigger than his palm, and aimed it at Dafna. "You mean this little .38 caliber finger?" "How do you know we don't also have a gun?" she said defiantly. "Some people might carry guns, but you boys like him don't," said the kid with conviction. "Give me the money, I haven't got all day." Amazing, this punk was able to recognize the yeshiva bacher. He must not be from around here. Very likely a former student at MSU. Interesting. "You know, the police station is just around the corner," Dafna warned our rabbi. "They're going to catch you." I could see that she was not going to stop pestering the already jittery addict. This could get dangerous. The kid was ready in the shakes and most likely was not going to act rationally. I turned to Dafna and said, "Would you just shut up? You're going to make this young man nervous, and we want him to remain calm." "That's it? That is what a big tough cop and a hard-nosed investigator does? Some punk waves a gun and you knuckle under? Pull out your gun and shoot the guy," she demanded. I turned to Dafna and said, "I do not have my pistol with me. Let us just give the man what he wants and have him go away." "You didn't bring your gun?" she asked incredulously. "How can you investigate a case without a weapon?" "This was supposed to be a routine, simple investigation," I said in my defense. "I did not think bringing my pistol was necessary. So the best thing to do is give the fellow our money, nice and easy, and let the police handle it from here." "No way, this is my case, she repeated in anger. "I did not take 4 years of Krav Maga lessons at the Detroit Jewish Center to allow some punk to walk all over me." "Dafna," I said loudly, "this is not part of the case, and you have 2 daughters to think about." "I am thinking about them. I don't want them to think that I am some wimp who lets a street punk get the better of me. Not like some investigators I know." The young hoodlum was dumbfounded by our exchange, and that was probably the reason that he did not notice when Dafna sank lower on her left leg and pulled her right leg way back. Then, with an amazing amount of speed and energy, she swung her right foot directly into his groin and tender parts. You can see the pain shoot up from his crotch to the top of his head. His eyes opened wide and his mouth dropped open in surprise. His eyeballs then rolled upwards. The fellow did not make a sound, but that was understandable since he was not breathing. Whoa, that gotta hurt. Apparently, the kick also put Dafna in some pain because she was hopping on her left foot and howling. The punk grabbed himself between his legs. I suppose he was wondering if any of his personal paraphernalia was still intact and whether it would be available for future use. I took the opportunity to remove the gun from the young gentleman's hand, and at the same time I held him up against the wall. He still had not commenced breathing, and if I was not holding him, he would be on the floor in a crumpled mass. This guy was not going anywhere on his own steam. I told him, "Try to breathe." He was still not taking any breaths, but he was getting ready to do so. I pulled out my phone and called the police emergency number. Daphna was trying to walk around without wincing in pain. She had soft shoes and she might have broken a toe. Next time you kick someone in the nads, wear a thick-soled shoe. Army boots are best. Now you tell me, she said in obvious pain. The police arrived in under 5 minutes. Not a great response time considering the station was only about 300 yards away. The police asked the usual preliminary questions and took the young perpetrator and his gun into custody. He was still clutching himself and moaning loudly, and the police decided they wanted to get him over to the emergency room pronto. They just wrote down our names and contact numbers and told Daphna and me that we could give our statements the next morning before we met with Detective Dalton. We were now about 1/2 hour late for our appointment with the Rebbitzin and went to Daphna's car. "I think I better drive. You should rest your foot." She did not protest and threw me her keys. I pressed the alarm and the car chirped alive. Daphna got into the passenger seat and I tried to squeeze into the driver's seat. No chance. I was about 10 inches taller than Daphna and about 100 pounds heavier. There was just not enough room for me between the steering wheel and the seat back. I took a moment to move the seat way back and then to lower it completely. Then I adjusted the mirror so I could see around the car. I hit the ignition and the car started right up. I shifted to drive and was about to press on the gas pedal when I realized that Daphna had not been speaking these last few minutes. Highly unusual. Up until now, she had been a chatterbox. I put the car back into park. I looked at Daphna. Her eyes were glazed and she was staring straight ahead out through the windshield. Uh-oh. Over the years, I had seen this type of reaction. It happens in victims and their families just after the danger has passed. Somehow people can do some pretty amazing and sometimes stupid things in times of stress. They're able to overcome fears and dangers that normally would incapacitate them. The police doc said it comes from an adrenaline rush in times of danger. Problem is that once that adrenaline wears off, the victims suddenly realize the gravity of the actual danger they had been in. For some people, the reliving of the event could become overwhelming. Some even crash. I even remember one case where the victim had recurrent fears and nightmares and had to be hospitalized for an extended period. Daphna had that look. "Daphna," I said softly, "can you hear me?" No response. Not good. The police shrinks told us to reassure the victims in times like this, let them know that they are safe, even lie to them and belittle the danger they had been in. "Daphna," I tried again, "you know, I had it covered. There was no way I was going to let that little punk hurt you. You did good. Everything is fine now. You're safe. I'm here for you." Still no reaction. I tried once more. "Can you hear me?" She suddenly broke from her reverie and turned slowly in my direction, as if she just noticed that I was in the car. Her next few words were critical in determining her future mental health. I was worried. She began nodding her head as a smile broke out on her face. What a feeling. What a rush. I kicked some serious tuchus just now. Nobody messes with Daphna Lachler when she is on a case, she said proudly. What was she talking about? I told you the attempted robbery had nothing to do with the case. I know that, she said, pointing a finger at me. But when Daphna Lachler is on the job, Daphna Lachler is on the job. I had no idea what that meant, and I was not going to ask. I put the car in drive and started out of the lot. We're late. Give me directions to Rebbitzin Klein's house. Make a right, she commanded loudly. We're on our way to Rebbitzin Klein's house, and we're going to kick some more tuchus. The woman is totally nuts. End of chapter 7. Come back tomorrow for chapter 8.